Hello, I'm Anna Webb, and welcome to this week's episode of A Dog's Life. I'm delighted to be talking to the founders of Naturaw. And as ever, this episode is powered by Naturaw. Jess Warneken and Chris Broadbent, how excited am I that you're both on A Dog's Life?
We're happy to be here.
We're very excited too, Anna.
Oh, well, I know Chris and we recorded a podcast, a few years ago, didn't we, Chris?
Yeah. He's an old hand at podcasts.
Yeah, I think it was 2019 we met at Crufts. Yeah, a chance meeting, but that's a few years ago now.
I know, time flies. So, Jess, now you're the original founder of Naturaw. What decided you to make this massive move to set up a raw food firm?
Well, I think in many ways, similar to how people end up feeding raw to their dogs, in that I had a poorly dog and I was searching for ways to heal him from his itchy ears and his upset tummy, and sort of cycling through better foods, increased meat content, kibble, and then sort of happened upon raw in 2013. And it really transformed his life, and I think definitely extended his life. And through that process, was coming across difficulties in getting hold of raw food. Even back then, it wasn't as commercially available. And that sort of led us to think, we can build a website and we can become like an online shop for brands of raw food. And that's what we did in October 2014. We launched the website just stocking other brands. And that's what we did for a couple of years until we decided to get our pet food plant license and start making it ourselves, so we could sort of truly stand behind it and it could fit our ethics and sourcing. And, that's how we started, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm really proud to currently be an ambassador for Naturaw.
I know, yeah, it's exciting.
It really is, actually, because so many boxes are ticked, for me, because I think, the raw market has literally exploded, hasn't it? I mean, I don't know half of the brands now, whereas way back, I have really, Molly, my first miniature bull terrier's breeder, who's from Yorkshire. Molly was actually a Yorkshire lass. She was born in Barnsley. Yeah.
You can be an honorary Yorkshire lass then.
yeah, exactly. And, it was her breeder that said, I won't do Yorkshire accent, but she said, look, just feed her on raw green tripe. Imagine the conversation. So I was like, gosh, where can I get
hold of that?
How do I get hold of that? So guess what I did? I rang the vet. Yeah. And I said, I wonder if you could help me. I really need to find some raw green tripe. Well, I can't really repeat what the conversation kind of unraveled as being, to be honest with you. Needless to say, they weren't awfully helpful. But would you say at the moment, with this massive kind of explosion, raw is trendy, isn't it? But the thing is, not all raw food is created equal.
No, definitely not. I mean, yeah, like you said, back then it was, I think when we first started raw feeding, it was mainly like working dogs or greyhounds sort of that were fed tripe and red meat. It was very nondescript. It wasn't really a commercial product. There were a few brands around then, but it has seen such a change over the past 10, 15 years, I think, with brands like coming on board and sort of making it a much more retailable product, much more accessible, and not just tripe in bags, like you say. It's like more complete foods. But yes, not all of them are created equal. Obviously, there's some brands rely heavily on cheap cuts of meat and not even British meat. I mean, one of my bugbears is the Made in Britain sort of logo that people put on it, which doesn't really mean a lot because the meat could be from halfway around the world. But yeah, it's the reliance on fillers like lots of carrot or lung or things like that. It's hard for the consumer to sort of understand what's good and what's bad, but it's definitely not all created equal.
No, indeed. Actually, I'm so on it with that. Actually, there's one particular type of meat. I won't mention it right now. That I don't think. Well, it's rabbit. Okay, I'm not. I don't know, but I've been led to understand that you can't get rabbit in the UK.
Not very easily. Yeah, it's not in any sort of quantity. Obviously, people can go to the local butcher and have had gamekeepers like shoot small numbers, but commercially, it's going to be farmed rabbit from Europe, which obviously is questionable ethics and food miles and whatnot. So yeah, I don't think that it's very easy to produce a rabbit-based product in the UK ethically.
No. You've really won so many awards that it's very proud, I think, I'm very proud anyway, to be associated with Naturaw for all of the awards that you've won, not only, of course, for the food, but also because of your sustainability aspect. Is it true that the HQ, where, of course, you make everything, is solar powered, Jess?
Well, yes, it is the factory itself. Yeah. So we've got solar panels on the roof of, we've got two buildings. So yeah, solar panels on the roof of the factory. So that generates enough to provide all of the factory equipment and freezers there. But it's unfortunately not the whole thing. So yeah, the machinery is all powered by the sun, which we don't have very much of in Yorkshire.
Not this.
But I don't think any of us have got much sun at the moment, to be honest with you. Yeah, it does seem to have been a bit of a long January, and it's not even over yet. But we're the finishing lines in sight, at least at the moment, But yeah, I don't know about you. It seems very dark and dreary at the moment. In terms of going back to, the range that you've created, to say it's been thoughtfully put together is kind of, for me, an understatement, really, because now when you go on to Naturaw's website, what you have, if you like, for me, is really something for everybody. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's raw feeding. Well, people can find it daunting because there is all these different schools of thought. Some people feed vegetables, some people don't. Some people believe this, that, the other. So like, there's lots of from like old school people like to do it a certain way. I think that can be off-putting to people new to it. So providing something like ready done. Where the complete food is important, but equally people that are wanting to mix and match their own diets or have dogs with allergies, providing something stripped back. So yeah, we're trying to cover all bases and appeal to all the different types of customers that we have.
And indeed, thinking about, this misnomer, I think that raw is so expensive, but you see, it isn't really, is it?
No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, obviously, if you've got a Great Dane, then it's going to be quite different to if you've got a Chihuahua. But yeah, it doesn't need to be compared to some of the high end kibbles. It's cheaper than those, and especially if people are looking at tinned or sort of fresh food again, then it's definitely affordable.
But I mean, it's like you were saying with was it your first Rhodesian Ridgeback, that made such a turnaround, with a change of diet. For me, it's like looking at feeding, you are what you eat, and so is your dog. So you're cutting back, dare I say it, on vet bills long term. So you're saving money by feeding raw.
Yeah, definitely, because we were cycling with him on being on antibiotics. Just every so often he would get better, would be all right for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then he'd be back on them again. Obviously, there's a cost involved in that, but also not much of a quality of life. And the things that antibiotics were doing to his insides is not something that you wanted to be constantly feeding him. So yeah, I'm sure it saved money as well from not needing to go visit the vet for a couple of years after that.
Well, definitely, because antibiotics in dogs, it's funny, it's so different to in people, actually, which I find a little ironic in that they are the same antibiotics, just often with a different brand name, but we get a course of, say, a 2-week course of antibiotics, whether you're 5'2" and weighing 8 stone, or you're 6'4" and weigh more than that, whereas dogs, it's all done by the weight of the dog, which, so obviously a Rhodesian Ridgeback's antibiotics would cost a lot more than, say, for my little Mr. Bink. So again, it's all quite interesting to think of things if money is this kind of objection behind feeding raw.
Yeah, obviously that's hard to communicate to people, and it's not a guarantee, but looking at it more holistically, I think you're saving money in other aspects of their life and improving the quality of their life in so many instances.
Shall I just come in with some numbers there, Anna?
Yes, please. Oh, go on. Yes, please, Chris.
There in the corner. So, you were going back to talking about how it's grown. The UK Pet Food Manufacturers Association, there's a trade body that represents all the all pet food businesses. It used to be called the PFMA. It's now called UK Pet Food, rather confusingly. But they estimate that there's 15 million dogs in the UK now, and 13 million cats as well, you'd be pleased to know. And in the last 12 months, they think there's 1.7 million more dogs. So there's a dog in 40% of households. And there's over £2 billion have been spent feeding those dogs. The raw part of that market has grown really quickly over the last 10 years, from not very much, as you say, to probably 15% of that market, and it's probably underrepresented. It's probably more than that because of things like butternut box and the growth in sort of fresh feeding that's happened as well in the last couple of years. So it's grown massively, probably 3 times what it was 10 years ago in terms of raw feeding.
At the expense of kibble.
At the expense of things which have been perceived as being a lot cheaper. That, as you say, they're not necessarily cheaper. There's a lot of expensive dry food on the market as well. But our business, I'm pleased to say, has grown exponentially faster than even that because of the quality of the product. And as the sort of raw and fresh sector grows, people are obviously humanizing. There's the whole thing of treating the pet like another human adult in the house. But people also, are paying for quality, want the very best for their pets. So that's reflected in our sort of figures. We've grown faster. We're growing in a fast-growing part of the market, so it is exciting.
Yeah, 100%. But Naturaw's done amazing things. Like, Jess, you've met the king.
Yes, I did. I got pushed forward to be the one. Actually, Chris went through the whole application process, providing all the information, and then very gracefully pushed me forward to go and actually meet the king at Buckingham Palace.
Jess is the female founder. She deserves. She's started business, so I had no right to go and meet the king. But we did. It did take 2 years to win.
It was a long process.
The sustainable. It was the.
When we applied, it was the Queen's Award.
It was actually,
Unfortunately, in the time of before getting announced, it had turned into the King's Award. But we were in the sustainable development category, weren't we?
We were, the King's Award for Enterprise for British business. It's every year. There's a number of different. There's a international and there's innovation, but we applied for sustainable development, which only 6 companies I think got that year. That was a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, but it's such an accolade, because of all things, dog food. For me, that really speaks volumes, particularly because, we know that the king is a real trailblazer when it comes to sustainability and, offsetting, and he's very concerned about the climate. And I think, there's a lot of misrepresentation, perhaps on the raw market. Vegans will argue that, nobody should eat meat ever again, and that cows cows in the field are, contributing hugely to, the CO2 emissions and so on. But then you can also argue that cows in a field create the biodiversity that we need, and that perhaps being a vegan, isn't for everybody, and achieving a proper.
There's like lots of nuance to both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
The king is obviously he's got an organic farm and things like that is very much his thing, the sustainability side of it. So actually the day before we went down to Buckingham Palace, I got a phone call from somebody that worked in the team, and they said that the king had decided that he wanted to meet all of the sustainable development winners. So that was a bit of a nerve-wracking phone call. I'm glad they did it the day before, so I didn't have much time to stew upon it. But yeah, so when we went down, I had a 6-month-old baby. It was the first time that I'd left her, so we had an Airbnb, and I left Tom, my partner, looking after her, trying to keep her satisfied with she'd only been eating food for a few weeks. So whilst I nipped off to Buckingham Palace, it was very surreal experience.
Oh, I bet he was lovely, though. I'm very patriotic, really, and I just love the royals for their passion for animals, and particularly dogs. So I think it's a great accolade.
Yes, the king's got I think it was 2 Jack Russells at the time when I was doing my research before we went down. I think he's got 2 Jack Russell Terriers, but I didn't have enough time or pluck up the courage to ask him what he fed them.
Oh gosh, well, I feel a box should be delivered.
Yes.
To be honest, because I'm sure they'd love it. To be fair, there's so much with Naturaw that I think really sets it apart. I mean, I've been feeding raw, well, pretty much all my life to a degree, and that I grew up with old parents, and so my dad was really the sort of person involved with animals. He headed up the Shropshire branch of the RSPCA when I was very, very young. So we were always feeding our dogs a bit of this, a bit of the other. But as for, any food coming out of a bag or anything, that was never done.
Yeah, well, kibble really is quite a recent invention. People my mum recounts the same sort of thing when she had a poodle when she was a kid, that they didn't really have kibble. It was fed leftovers and whatnot. There wasn't really commercial dog food around as much.
No, that's right. And there were much fewer dogs, I think, as well, living in the country as well. And it was obviously way before the internet hit as well. So, but I agree with you, though, Jess. I think the market is so moving towards sort of premium, balanced and complete. As Chris was saying, we are transferring our values, of eating, you are what you eat, to our pets, because
definitely trickling down from sort of the movement of ultra processed foods that we're seeing with humans now. They're sort of applying that wider to the pets and sort of asking questions more, and having a bit more education around it. Definitely people are more conscious of it.
Yeah, 100%. But also as well, the joy of receiving Naturaw and the packaging is just lovely. There's no polystyrene.
No, definitely. That's a swear word where we are.
Yeah.
Well, we take great pride in being plastic-free business, and there's an awful lot of greenwashing in the sector, like everywhere else, and you've got to really not just say things but actually do them. And it's not doing what necessarily is the cheapest way of doing things, but it is what's best for the planet. So there's certain things that we're never going to sort of compromise on, and that's one of them.
Yeah, well, I must admit the packaging, it is sturdy and practical, whilst not being a drain on the planet, perhaps, and certainly, as I say, those big blocks of polystyrene, it would just put dread into you every delivery, thinking, gosh, got to deal with this.
Hey, Anna.
Hey, Mike.
So we've just finished Billy's first 60 days of Antinol, and wow, what a difference.
Really? Oh my gosh, what have you noticed?
Well, he's shiner. He's much more energetic. Not that he wasn't beforehand, but you can see the difference. But remember, I told you he used to have that little limp in his back left paw that he'd hurt himself when he was a pup. He
Yes,
doesn't seem
yes.
to do that much anymore.
What, the hop, skip, and the jump?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like his joints are a bit better. And we actually had friends around this weekend who'd noticed that there was something good about Billy. And I was telling them about Antinol, and they said, "Oh, what's in it?" I said, "Well, green lip mussel." And they said, "What's that?" And I go, "Oh, well, I don't know. I'll have to ask Anna, as I always do." So
Well,
for next
green,
time, what should I say? What's so great
well,
about green lip mussel?
well, green-lip mussel, it comes from New Zealand. It's the only place that green-lip mussels live. And what's great about the green-lip mussel is that it is what's known as a broad spectrum source of omega-3. And the reason dogs need to take omega-3 is that their bodies don't make it themselves. So unless they're getting it through, their diet, which can be omega-6 heavy. And it's very important to have a balance between omega-6 and omega-3. So it's normally through supplements that omega-3 is given. And green lip mussel is unique in its having everything from EPA, DHA, and ETA. So all the main omega-3s.
And how about Binks and Prudence? They must be much better as well.
Yeah, well, they've been on it for over a year, and they've been on green lip mussel forever since I've had them. So Prue's 10 now. So she's had green lip mussel since the first day I brought her home, to be honest, but not Antinol. And I only wish I'd discovered Antinol earlier. I really honestly mean that, because it's an oil rather than a powder. So its bioavailability, that means, its effectivity to get absorbed quickly and efficiently by the body is greater.
So people listening now and they want to discover Antinol for themselves, where do they go?
Well, all you have to do is go to Antinol, ANTINOL.co.uk, and then type in Anna Webb and get your special discount. I'm intrigued to know about how you really put together this whole planting trees, because I know that Naturaw has planted, I think, might have it wrong, but it's over 23,000 trees.
Yeah.
That's about right. Yeah, we plant a tree for every new subscriber, customer, or every pet shop stockist trader who puts an order in. So it has built up over the years. We actually had a tree on our stand at Crufts, didn't we?
Yeah, yes, we had an olive tree to illustrate this. It had to be something that was non-toxic to dogs. So yeah, we had an olive tree in the end.
And that's brilliant, though. That's so important. And I don't know any other dog foods that are doing that personally, but for me, I think that's great. And it really highlights this whole purpose-led feeling you get with Naturaw, that everything is super controlled, that the recipes, they really are nutrient dense, combining heart with beef, meat, muscle meat with the offal, combining it with a bit of fish, and then the botanicals, which are they all organic, Jess?
Not all of them, but most of them are. There's this hand harvested Scottish seaweed, which is organic from a lovely organisation in Scotland. And then, like the wheatgrass is obviously a very nutrient dense packed sort of superfood, as you call it. And then organic broccoli, organic kale, egg, whole eggs. Yeah, so lots of good stuff in it.
Yeah, adding the egg, that's a really lovely touch, I think, actually, because a raw egg is just packed full of
Well, it's
omegas,
got to
isn't it?
sustain new life of a chick. So yeah, it's got loads of goodness in an egg, as we know for ourselves. But yeah, that still applies to dogs as well.
Oh, no, absolutely, absolutely. Something else I just love, because I'm quite a visual person. I just love the simplicity, but the power of your logo, the paw,
Yes.
it's like the paw, it's like a hand. It's like,
yeah, we got a local illustrator called Liam Ashurst to do that, and we're kind of inspired by like Che Guevara, sort of rebellion, like revolution, but in our words, Rawvolution, because we are sort of a small movement and such. The raw, it still is overwhelmingly kibble and sort of going against the grain. So it sort of summed up our values in the poor to the sky.
Yeah. Oh, it's really lovely. I think it's really identifiable as well and connects with people. Would you agree, Chris?
Well, yeah, we want everyone to join the Rawvolution. That is our aim. It sounds altruistic, but there are 15 million dogs to go at, and the vast majority of them are not necessarily getting the healthiest diet. So everyone wants the best for their dog, and it is a movement. We're not just here to try and make money. We're trying to do the right thing with the right ingredients, with the right people, with the right partners to support the community and grow the Rawvolution. So we had a load of stockists in here last week, which was entertaining, and we did all sorts with them. But they were all gone away and they're blown away by what we're doing here. And I think the more we can sort of spread that word, the better, basically.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say makes you different to others?
Well, obviously we're biased.
I know.
I've not worked in other dog food factories either, but I think last week, some of the comments were, we'd love to do this with other people. I suspect other people might not be as keen to show people around because they haven't got solar panels on the roof, or they haven't got the sort of facilities for the staff or whatever. I think we just try and do the right thing, and obviously consumers, it is tough out there, and I get that we're not the cheapest dog food. We are trying to appeal to different audiences, but people will always get the best they can for what they can afford, and all we can do is continue to do the right thing in terms of the environment, with the packaging being plastic free. The quality of the ingredients ultimately is what determines how we've grown. We don't spend a lot on marketing. We're not backed by big investment companies like some of our competitors. We've grown organically because of the quality of the product, and that's word of mouth really, that people have joined the Rawvolution without us trying to sell, without us giving them a discount. Certainly, they've joined the Rawvolution because they've tried the food. I've never seen a dog that doesn't like the food, and I know that's silly, but that's the one thing I know. My two positively snarf it up.
Inhale it.
Yeah, and that's not the same with all food. So that's the ultimate test, isn't it? As you know.
Yeah, no, I was actually training a staffy on Saturday just gone, and he's just switched to some Naturaw actually. And the problem with the staffy was he hasn't been eating out of a bowl for 2 years, and he is only 2. So this was one of my tasks, you see. So he's been hand fed, which isn't practical long term with the dog. We weighed it out and everything and made a bit of a meal out of the meal time, and it just happened so fast. And then his owner just went, "Anna, you have earned your money." That's all he said. And it was a great moment. And snarf is an understatement. But I managed to get him to sit for like half a second, did it really quick sit, bowl on the floor, take it. And snarf, up it went out of the bowl. It was really great, actually. So I was thinking,
endorsement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, I know Naturaw isn't marketing to cats, but just as an aside, my cat Baggy, he's loving some of the single protein combinations, by the way.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, we do feed it to our cat as well, but yeah, not officially cat food.
No, not officially cat food. So
that's a big growth area. There are a lot of people are looking at cats and raw feeding, obviously.
They tend to be a bit harder to persuade, a bit more sort of stuck in their ways.
Yeah, it is harder to switch cats, but it's a whole nother conversation that we can do on another episode even, actually. Why not?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Both Prue and Mr. Binks are extremely happy with Naturaw, to say the least. Absolutely.
What's their favourite flavours, Anna?
Gosh, well, the joy of not making your dog a fussy eater is that they are grateful for what they're given. I think it's quite important to set rules around feeding, that if for whatever reason they may not eat what you give them for breakfast, not to kind of worry about it, not to make a big deal out of this and think, oh gosh, you're going to die, you haven't eaten breakfast. But it's to be very, relaxed about it, just pick up the bowl and put it back in the fridge. That's what I would say to clients of mine that maybe have got fussy eaters, because you can train a dog to be a fussy eater, and that can be a real millstone around the neck, really long term with the dog. So making a meal out of a mealtime, making them work for their food, really works. So what's their favorite flavors? Gosh, well, we're loving the Forage range. We're also loving the Real Simple range, and all of it. As I say, all of it, no problems.
That's the other thing with raw, and that it's different to kibble, because generally you'll find when someone feeds a kibble, they're feeding the same meal day in, day out, every single day. You can see how that would become boring. Whereas with raw, there's much less of a focus on that. It's much more, you'll feed lamb one day, beef the next, and it's a lot more interesting for the dog, and that reduces the boredom of the same meal every day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's known, good variety is known to enhance the microbiome from a science perspective as well. Yeah. So that's the thing is variety. No, we're absolutely loving it, actually. I am liking doing some of the single proteins at the moment and mixing in the pure blend, which, oh gosh, that's got such a gorgeous creamy texture to it, because I've decanted a 500-gram, packet of it, and I've put it into little ice cube trays. And so what I'd like to do is pop them out, so we've been dipping into, the whole range, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. They'll freeze them in like bite-sized sort of portions, and some people in like pretty paw print molds and make these beautiful looking dishes, but that isn't obviously the only way to do it. So you can just serve it in a bowl as it is, but some people do take great joy in making it look as beautiful as possible.
I know that. I know. I love all that. There's all these slow feeder bowls now available as well. That you can put a little bit of egg in there and a little bit of fish in here and make it look really beautiful. I must say, I'm probably too lazy for all of that. Really.
Oh yeah, same.
Too.
But as well, to make the pure blend last as well and be economical, I think it is a really good idea to put it into smaller molds and then pop it in with the single proteins, because so many dogs at the moment that clients that I've helped over the years, they have dreadful food intolerances, like really they've been ingrained for years. So one of my clients is a Cavapoo, and she is, great news, really enjoying, she's on we're doing eliminations. So we've begun with the organic chicken, and it's going down really, really well, integrating it very slowly with her prescription diet. So I've advised for, the chicken to be thawed and then put into ice cubes. And then we're going to increase the cubes as the days carry on, so that in about 2 weeks' time, taking it very slowly. But this dog is, on both Apoquel and Cytopoint at the moment. So it's a severe case, but all being well, the transition is going to make a massive difference to her health and hopefully longevity.
Yeah, I think you probably have a disproportionate number of people turn to raw to sort of solve an issue in the same way that I did with our dogs. But yeah, that's why we have a lot of people going through sort of elimination diets and trying to find out what the actual trigger is. So having those meals where they can eliminate certain things, so it makes it easier for them to determine what the problem is definitely valuable.
I think that's another thing in the Rawvolution community, in that not just us, our competitors as well, to be fair. Often, the brands have come about because of a story around a dog's health, and a lot of our stockists are the same, and people who buy the food are, and that's all they care about is the health of the dog, as opposed to the sort of big business out there, which it doesn't come from that starting point, which makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a personal journey. And of course, when you see nobody wants their dog to not be well, I mean, it can cause a huge amount of stress for the pet parent. So, the joy and the relief of, finding a food that's helping, like, let medicine be thy food, the good old saying from good old Hippocrates. I wish we could meet him because he was so wise.
Yeah, it's true.
He was like the medic, but everything he's kind of, everything he said is now being harnessed more in this big journey towards wellness.
Yeah, and I think that's the brands that are going to do well are focusing on that, and that's ultimately what dog food should be about, isn't it? Is helping your dog and making it as healthy as have its best life possible, basically, and that's all we're trying to do in a nice way.
Yes, well, yeah, doing it really well, I think, to be honest. So, the Real Simple range has just hit. What might some other plans be for Naturaw this year?
Yeah, we've got some new treats that we've got coming maybe 2 or 3 months time. So that's another sort of aspect to the business. The high meat content, no fillers. Obviously, the main thing that what they're eating is the food, but treats are a big part. People spending money on stuff that's really not very good for them. So yeah, so we've got a range that's sort of 70% meat content to go alongside the raw food. So we're expanding that range a bit more.
Exciting. No, I'm loving the treats as well. Got to say that. And we do get through quite a lot because, enrichment is important. And when you're training, food rewards do play big roles. Yeah, they're perfect for a pocket because I always say to people, look, just take the treats out of the packet. You've got to capture the moment. Just put a few in your pocket. So these are very pocket friendly treats, i.e. they don't
smell great, actually. Everyone's always saying how they would give them a try themselves. Not that we recommend that.
No, no, of course not. No. But a little Pomeranian yesterday was loving the white fish. So yes, so I took
nice low fat one. That one.
Yeah, and that was very good. He's come on very, very well now that he's going to be switching to Naturaw now as well. Actually,
oh great.
Yes, watch that space. But I agree. I think everybody wants their dog to be well.
Yeah, and you're spreading the Rawvolution for us down in the capital, Anna.
Yeah.
So
I definitely think it's an education. Like people do what they've done for years and years and don't really even know that there is an alternative out there. So with that many dogs in the UK, a lot of people just aren't aware of a different way of feeding. So I think that takes time, and there has been a lot of traction over the last few years, and I think that will continue with the sort of fresh food as well is also growing at a fast rate at the expense of kibble and tinned. So there's definitely a movement sort of overall to be thinking more about what our dogs particularly are eating.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Gosh, well, I can't wait to jump on and have a longer chat in the very near future as well. And certainly looking forward to the new treats. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Naturaw.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. It's taken us 7 years to get you on board. So
slow burner.
It's a long game, but yeah, there's plenty more dogs to join the Rawvolution.
Yeah, here's to that. Here's Viva la Rawvolution.
Thank you.
That's our show, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go on, rate and review the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again, of course, to Jess and to Chris for joining us today, and all the links to Naturaw, including my very special discount code, are in the show notes. Thanks, of course, to Mike, my producer, for all the music and production as ever. And of course, also, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about Antinol, go on, visit their website, and at checkout, you can just put in my code, which is AnnaWebb, and receive your special discount. One more thing, subscribe, because if you haven't, you should, because it's free, and that way you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.